On the 3rd of October, President Bola Tinubu transmitted 4 landmark tax reform bills to the National Assembly. These include the Nigeria Tax Bill 2024, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. Together, the bills aim to overhaul Nigeria's tax administration and revenue generation system, introducing sweeping changes. The tax reform bills are the product of a year's intensive work and consultation by Taiwo Oyedele-led Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, which President Tinubu had inaugurated just 2 months after taking office in August 2023. It is clear that the President views these reforms as a critical priority to lay a strong fiscal and revenue foundation for sustainable growth during his tenure and beyond. While the proposed changes have ignited fierce debate across Nigeria, with critics and supporters clashing, many remain unaware of the full scope of reforms, from slashing taxes for small businesses to easing the burden on low-income earners. On today's edition, we'll provide an in-depth explainer to shed light on what these landmark tax reform bills entail. Welcome to Business Insight and Plus TV Africa. I'm your host, Justin Akadonye. Well, moving on now, the Nigeria Tax Bill is a comprehensive piece of legislation that seeks to outline all taxes in the country hitherto administered by different laws and compress them into a single simplified law. Most importantly, the NTB vests upon the Nigerian Revenue Service, expected to succeed FTRIM, Petroleum Regulatory Commission, and excise duties, import VAT, and so many others, heated or collected by the Nigerian Customs Service. Now, joining me now as we keep our eyes on the recent tax reform bills is the CEO of Gate Fashoto & Co., the past president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. Many thanks for joining us on Business Insight on Plus TV Africa.
Good morning, viewers.
All right, let's talk about the tax reform bills. It's been a long time coming. Just 2 months when the president got into office last year, he inaugurated the tax reforms committee scheduled to overhaul the nation's tax system, and inputs and deliberations and counter reactions have actually followed over time. But let's start this way. What's your candid opinion concerning these new reforms, as it were?
Well, once again, good morning, Nigerians. I believe that this is a good development for our country, because this is the first time the issue of taxation is coming to the front burner in the country. And this is happening under a democratic dispensation. Major tax reforms in the past in our country were carried out by the military government, during which we have censorship of expression of opinion. But during the current dispensation, everybody can hear his or her views as to what is happening in our taxation spheres. The economic stabilization bills were introduced into the National Assembly, and that sparked off a lot of controversies. And I want to tell you, as major contributors might have said, that most of these conversations, especially disagreements with the tax reform bills, were born out of ignorance, that is, inability to go through the voluminous tax bills, listening to what third parties have said about the tax bills, and relying on some of those misinformation or disinformation. But if we take time to go through the bills, we will know that what these opponents of these bills are saying, they are actually direct opposite of the proposals in those tax reform bills. As we have been told, tax reform bills, they consist of 4 bills sent to the National Assembly. But in essence, they are actually more than, the issue is more than these four tax bills. Because this is a committee set up since August last year, August 2023. And it has been working almost 24 hours to be able to come up with certain positions. 4 tax bills are just byproducts of what they have been doing for the past 1 year. Let me pause here.
Okay, it's been a long time coming, like we have agreed, and like you said, there's been so much misinformation, specifically about the Nigerian, tax bill, because just last week it passed second, reading. It scaled second reading at the National Assembly, and it was around this session because some have alluded that it is actually favoring a particular part of the country, and that there's even a report that was out not too long ago, specifically about value-added taxation, and how just about 3 states were actually enjoying much of collection from that. What are your thoughts concerning that?
Yes, that happened to be the major aspect that has been brought out by the opponents of these tax reform bills. That's section 77 of one of the bills. And what they are alluding to is that the derivation is going to rob some northern states of their entitled revenues. But I want to assure Nigerians that this is actually exact opposite of the content of that particular provision. Even though the word derivation is used, but the definition of the derivation in this tax reform bill is entirely different from the existing tax law that we are using. Don't forget that derivation is also used in the distribution of the VAT proceeds currently. And the definition of the derivation in the ones in the current tax bill states that whatever state that is collecting the VAT will be deemed to be the state where the VAT is being collected, is deriving it. Meaning that all the collections from every state that is not paid in those states, but they are paid in a particular state, it means that that final state will be taken as the state deriving the VAT. Whereas in the current bill, it is stated that it is where the economic activities are being generated, rather than where the VAT proceeds are being collected.
Okay.
So I will urge Nigerians to read the contents of the bill, and if they can, they should engage the experts in their spheres to interpret correctly the content of the bills to them.
Okay, there are several, merits to this bill that some people have talked about. I just want you to highlight some of them. Specifically, there are lots of exemptions, especially for low-income earners. That's those earning about 800,000 or less from paying income tax. There also talks of exemption of small businesses from paying income tax. So, in your opinion, what impact would all of this have on the economy?
Yes, before I go to that, I will still answer that. Let me state that what is going on in the nation is actually political and social issue, bedeviling Nigeria, rather than the economic issue. The issue of derivation is more political than economic.
Economic, yes.
Because this is determined arbitrarily by the Council of State, by the Economic Council, by the governors, president, and so on and so forth. So, but what are the juices contained in the current tax reform bills? We are saying that 82% of Nigerians that are below the sustenance level, economic sustenance level, will be taken off the radar of paying taxes. Why and how? The reason is that you cannot continue to tax poverty and expect the revenue of the nation to go up Why you are leaving out those people who are using the economic resources of Nigeria out of the tax net? So what happens is that those people earning below 800,000 per month are not to pay a single tax at all. But in fact, it is 1 million naira. 1 million naira in a year, which will be around 800 or something per month.
Yes, about 850.
Which will be 80,000 or whatever per month.
Okay.
They will be exempted from paying tax. Then, as for companies, any company, 50 million, currently is 25 million. If you are any 25 million, you are not to pay tax. But the bill is increasing the amount to 50 million. If you are any 50 million, you are not to pay tax. That is what is being proposed in this act. And why are these proposals being brought? We are not an island in Nigeria. We have compared ourselves with some countries, specifically Kenya and South Africa. In South Africa, the 80% of their tax proceeds is collected from about 10% of their total population who are wealthy. It means that the remaining 80%, they are paying less than what 10% of the population is paying. And the same thing in Nigeria, because the people controlling our economy, the people feeding fat on our economy, in singular terms, they are less than 10% of our population, and they are capable of sustaining the government through the tax revenue. So the new tax bill is aiming at the people at upper echelon to be taxed, rather than running after a wheelbarrow pusher, rather than running after a commuter, a damper driver, and so on and so forth. So if all these people below the economic sphere, they are taken out of tax system in terms of payment of tax, then we will be able to focus on the few individuals that will be able to fund our government revenue. Then furthermore, it is believed that our current revenue is far below what can sustain 200 million Nigerians. We are currently budgeting almost 20 trillion as revenue, total revenue. It's not enough to cater for us, because South Africa, that is still in Africa, is having a population of less than 1/4 of Nigeria. Its own revenue in a year for this year 2024 is ×4 of what Nigeria is budget. So we need more revenue, and we can get it from the top echelon of our country in the economic sphere.
Okay, so with the new reforms now, what impact would it have on issues like capital gains and people like the casinos and other HMIs who actually have been enjoying some sort of loopholes from from former tax laws?
Yes, we all know our problems in Nigeria, and our major problem is no consequence for doing what is wrong. You will see that we have incentives introduced into Nigeria, and we have certain sectors of the economy to enjoy tax holidays. But will you be surprised to note that these companies being asked to enjoy tax incentive, after the expiration of the tax holiday, they will still refuse to pay tax? Not only that, all the conditions set for them to enjoy these tax incentives, they are not meeting up. For example, people manufacturing in what is described as free tax zones, they will produce there, and they are expected to export more than 75% of their produce outside Nigeria, but they will still send those goods to Nigeria, thereby competing with people who are not being tax exempted. So many impunities are going on, but we believe that with the introduction of these tax reform bills, we'll be able to gain something from there. Specifically, these tax reform bills is addressing the issue of the capital gains tax. You will see that corruption is actually going on there. If you have your house and you want to pay capital gain, when you get to the ministry, you will not be allowed to pay the right tax because they will ask you to bring 200,000, which will be under the table, and pay only a pittance of 5,000 to the government. I'm just giving that one as an example.
Yes.
There are so many corruptions going on, but with this new tax bill, we are going to have fiscalization introduced, which will network every Nigerian taxpayers. Every Nigerian taxpayer is supposed to have one single tax identity, by which whatever business you are doing in Nigeria will be tracked by your tax identification number. And if that is done, there is no hiding place for people again anymore. So some of the people opposing these bills, some of them are even jittery because they may not be able to withstand, the new reforms because there will no longer be hiding place for them. So that is the major cause of the matter.
Okay, as we go now, another interesting thing that many households may want to hear is that somehow with these new reforms, there should be affordable food and essentials. How does that work?
Yes. With the new bills, as I said, all the food items, they are zero rated. The meaning of that is that they will be able to, all the food manufacturing processing companies, they will be able to recoup the VAT they might have paid, because VAT is not paid only once. It's a graduated tax. Yeah. Once you start producing, you pay tax there. Then the next level of your production, another tax is paid. And at the final level, you are expected to pay a tax, removing all the taxes you have paid. But since at the final level of food production, you are not to pay any tax, it means that all the taxes you have paid, that is VAT you have paid in the process of making your manufacturing. When you are buying your plastic to make pure water, to make bottled water, you have paid tax to the plastic manufacturing company and all those things. But by the time you finish your water and you want to sell, you will be able to claim back what you have paid earlier. So you will have more money. There will not be any hardship for you. So the prices of goods will be reduced, and Nigerians will be far better for it.
All right, in about 30 seconds, can you highlight how the local revenue committees will actually play in this new dispensation?
Yes, in this new dispensation, the committee itself is a standing committee. It's not just an advisory committee, it's an implementation committee. As we are talking now, the committee is also working. And the committee is made up of all Nigerians representatives. It's not only from any one geopolitical zone. It's not from one profession. It's not from one sector of the economy. It aggregates everybody. In fact, that's why I'm surprised that some people are still opposing this bill, because they have their representatives in this committee. So the committee has introduced these bills, and these bills are expected to be passed as soon as possible, provided public hearing is carried out and they take into consideration the concerns of every Nigerian. Once we have the right legal framework, then all other works of this committee will be far better for it, and they'll be able to assist all the revenue agencies to be able to collect the optimum revenue we need in Nigeria.
All right, I must say a very big thank you to you. I have been speaking with Gabriel Fashoto. He is the past president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria and the CEO of Gabe Fashoto & Co. Many thanks for all of your input on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and that's the size of the show for today. We must say a very big thank you to all of you who have sat back to watch and, of course, get better informed about new dispensation in tax reforms in the country. My name is Justin Akadonia. See you again next time. Bye for now.